You are watching a Naber Kids video.
People ask me, how did you come up with James the Bottle Butler? I carved his head out of wood, his hands out of wood. Now this tux will allow James to keep the champagne cool. That's his purpose and his personality.
As an artist, you get inspiration at many places. Years ago, I visited the town of Rothenburg in Bavaria, Germany, and I saw some champagne bottles dressed in a tuxedo. And I thought, if I can carve a head and hands, I could create a champagne bottle butler. And so I went to work when I came back to Homosassa, Florida, where I have my studio, and started carving the hands and carving the head of what I later called James the Bottle Butler. Now I'm carving these wooden parts from basswood, which is a fairly medium soft wood with very few knots and very little visible grain. So it lends itself to carving and also to painting. Surface can be worked with lacquer easily, and it also has properties like it doesn't split like many woods, especially oak. When it ages, it has a tendency to crack and split.
James, the older butler, and Charly, the younger one. Each one carries their own passport.
Now there's a lot of work carving each one of these characters, but truly most of the time is spent sanding. Sanding the surface to make the surface smooth, to prepare the surface for sanding sealer, which is the next step after the surface has been smoothed. Then after the sanding sealer is applied, again we have to sand and steel wool the surface again. I mostly use X-Acto knife tools, but sometimes I also use Dremel tools to work on my carving. Now sanding, as I said, takes a lot of time. Lots of sanding has to be done. And later, after applying the sanding sealer, which seals the pores of this basswood, we then have to sand it again, and then we apply a lacquer with a color tint in the lacquer, so to give it a different coloration, more the skin tone.
Here are some of the carvings I did recently. The new butler, Charly, then the older one, James. They are ready to travel with a passport and their picture in there.
All this is done by hand here in Homosassa, Florida. And James the Butler enjoys popularity for many years already. And I hope you will also like him. So it's a long process. It's like a good wine. It takes time and it has to age with his passport.